greedy. Clement Beaune with a bottomless pocket gloated over Brexit fishing row while threatened UK. France's Clement Beaune insisted his government is still on the lookout for more UK concessions as he gloated about victory in the Brexit fishing row. Britain issued additional fishing licenses to EU vessels on Saturday in an attempt to resolve a dispute over post-Brexit fishing rights for French fishermen. Gloating about the pressure France put on the UK to obtain the licenses, Europe Affairs Minister Clement Beaune renewed his threats to the UK. He said, "We made very clear, very firm threats. We had them ready. We unblocked the negotiation with that. That was in November. Do you know what has happened since November? We've got several dozen licenses. In the last few days we got over 80 licenses. Back in November, we had around 60% of the licenses we were entitled to. Today we have 93%. It was not because of the Holy Spirit or the goodwill of Boris Johnson. It happened because France told the UK very firmly, publicly and behind the scenes, to stop, to negotiate, to unblock the negotiation. We got 93% of licenses, which is an important number. We were very far from that a few weeks ago. There are still a few dozen to go. Around 60. What will we do with Annick Girardin, the fisherman, the European Commission now? Well, we will look at every single case that remains unsolved. We will not forget about those few dozen licenses. Now we are analyzing with the sector the last mile of this negotiation. By Wednesday we will decide the last stage of this strategy of pressure and dialogue. France has received 93% of the fishing licenses it requested but wants Britain to issue a few dozen more, France's European Affairs Minister has said. It comes after the UK and Jersey governments on Saturday granted further licenses to French fishing boats in an apparent attempt to resolve the long-running dispute over their post-Brexit rights to trawl British waters, and as technical talks over several more vessels continue. Mr. Beaune added that negotiations on the remaining licenses could go down the path of dialogue or legal proceedings, echoing previous threats to press the European Union to instigate legal action against Britain if sufficient licenses are not granted. French fishermen reacted angrily at the number of additional licenses issued by the UK and threatened to again block British goods from entering Calais. The Fishing Committee for the Northern Hauts-de-France region said, far from satisfying the professionals of the sector, this news exasperates the fishermen of Hauts-de-France, who feel both betrayed by the British government, and neglected by the European Commission. The organization's president, Olivier Lepreter, said, moves will be expected. Moves which will target the import of British products. He called the planned action a continuation of blockades of ports and ferry traffic across the Channel by French fishing crews on November 26. Britain issued 18 licenses for EU replacement vessels in UK territorial waters and 5 licenses for EU vessels to access Jersey waters, Britain and the European Commission said. Technical discussions on 7 more licenses for direct replacement vessels are expected to conclude on Monday or Tuesday, according to a government spokesperson. The government will continue to act in line with the TCA and provide licenses to French vessels that present sufficient evidence of historic fishing activity, the spokesperson said. The end of the most intensive set of discussions with the EU had been reached, they added. The UK government said, we have licensed vessels where sufficient evidence has been provided that demonstrates that a vessel qualifies for access. Where that evidence has not been provided, licenses have not been issued. France said it took note of the new British licenses and that 1,034 or 93% of French license requests had now been secured. Mr. Beaune and Seas Minister Annick Girardin said in a joint statement France and the EU were looking into all possible legal avenues to secure remaining licenses and produce evidence that Britain had agreed to review. Britain and the EU agreed to set up a licensing system to grant fishing vessels access to each other's waters when Britain left the bloc. But France says it has not been given the full number it is due, while Britain says only those lacking the correct documentation have not been granted. Fishing represents a tiny share of both the French and British economies, but it is politically sensitive.